Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dory and this channel is all about hiking gear, hiking tips and tricks and everything you need to know about hiking. Behind me you can see my Dan Durston X-Mid one-person tent, and today you finally get my long-term review on it. So for those of you who have been following me for a while, you know that this is one of my favorite tents. Is great quality, great price, and that's what I love, of course. I think that's what everybody loves. So I'm going to give you a full overview of my Dan Durston X-Mid one-person tent. Alright, before I give you a tour, I want to say I did more than 1,000 kilometers in this tent and I am still super happy with it. I've taken this tent on rocky terrain, sandy terrain, I've set it up on wood platforms, and I have taken this tent in stormy and cold weather as well. So I think I can definitely say that I have tested this tent properly, and I'm hoping I can give you guys some tips on whether or not this tent is for you. Alright, let's do it! So first of all, this tent is made out of very high quality materials. It's made out of silk polyester, which means it's less saggy when it gets wet. It's got high quality zippers. It's got extra guy lines for when it gets windy. It's got really nice overhead pockets. It's got good stitching. Everything is seam proof. The grommets are very robust. And overall, I've had no issues with the materials of this tent. The only thing I would say though is that the footprint of the inner tent seems a bit delicate, but so far I've had no issues. And if you're not sure, guys, or you're going to rocky grounds or something else, always make sure that you bring a footprint. Alright, so I'll give you a little bit of a tour first, and then we're gonna go over to setup and all that stuff. Alright. Okay, so you got the inner tent, which is quite small, to be honest. But then you got a vestibule, which is huge. Okay, so you can easily park a backpack in here. So when we come inside, you can easily put the fly away. And you've got a little guy line here to attach the fly. So really easy, guys. That's it, then it stays up, and as you can see I can actually fit in here with my full body, just for when it rains or I want to cook something, you know. I can also get rid of the inner tent so that you have more space to actually create a shelter for when you need to cook when it's raining or when you just need to hide in a storm. Okay, so it's really easy setup. So inner tent, the stitching is very well done as well. I like the mesh. It's yeah, it's really good quality. It's really thick as well, and yeah, I have had no issues with zippers, like I said before. And again, you can attach the inner door so that it's out of your way. All right, now that we're inside, I've actually put my new Thermarest, my new mattress inside. It's not really inflated, but this is like 70 centimeters, the mattress, and as you can see it's just wide enough for the inner fly. So this is a Nature Hike mattress. If you get a Thermarest mattress, guys, it's a little bit less wide and you will end up with a little bit more space on either side. Lengthwise, I really like it because it's really made for tall people, and yeah, it's just long enough for me. I'm 180 centimeters and yeah, I feel very comfortable in it. And sitting up, this is what it looks like. You can sit up. You don't have much space, but you can always adjust the guy lines a little bit so to give you a little bit more space. On the overhead, you've got these pockets here. I think they're really handy just to hang a flashlight from the top and all that stuff. So at nighttime it's really cold. You can make it really cozy. Like I mentioned before, the grommets are really high quality. They seem really robust as well. Alright guys, we're back outside the tent because it is hot today. I haven't gone very far on my walk and I just found a little spot to set up my tent to show you guys around. So now that you saw the inside and outside of the tent, I just quickly want to go over the specs with you. So first of all, is it easy to set up? I would say yes, but it takes a little bit of practice. So I've been using this tent now for about a year and a half, and I've done more than 1,000 kilometers in it. I would say that still to this day, I struggle sometimes depending on the ground, because it is not a freestanding tent and you're using trekking poles. So you do depend on the structure of your trekking poles. But is it easy to set up? It is easy to set up, but to make it perfect, it's not always as easy. Okay, so what is not easy is, for example, like to make it really tight and to make the outer fly really tight so that the water bounces off of it and stuff like that. But it's really easy to set up in terms of, like, you only need 4 stakes. You stake the corners, you put your trekking poles inside, and pretty much you have a shelter. So that's really easy. Okay. What I really like about this tent is that you can set up the inner and the outer tent separately. So even though it's not a freestanding tent, you guys, you can kind of be creative and set up your inner tent inside the shelters, or anywhere you find, like, you can set up your tent. You might get a little bit creative and attach the guy lines to some rocks or something like that, but it is possible. And I do like that you can take the inner tent out, so you just create like a tent with the outer shelter. With the setup, what I found is that sometimes you have a little gap underneath the tent, and when it's really windy or when it's really cold, that means that the wind will come underneath, but you can easily get rid of that by adjusting your stakes. So yeah, that's not really an issue. Another thing I didn't like about the setup is it's got such a big footprint that sometimes it's hard to find a good spot. Although when you're inside a tent, you feel really comfortable to have such a big footprint, but to find a spot is not always that easy. So yeah, I don't see it as an issue as such, but yeah, when you're wild camping, that might be something to consider. So in terms of how much space this tent offers, I've mentioned it before, you need a lot of space to set up the tent, but once you're inside, it will feel really comfortable. The only downside, I would say, and that's something, well, I don't mind it, but some people might not like it, is that the inner tent is really narrow. So it's about 70 centimeters wide, and it can feel a little bit cramped inside. But when you take into consideration that you have 2 very large vestibules next to you, it's not really a worry. I love that this tent is really long enough for me. I can even put my backpack like over my head, and I still have enough space. And I also love that I can sit up in this tent, because that doesn't happen very often. Obviously, it all depends what you like, but I love to be able to sit up straight rather than having to lie down all the time. You never know, it might be a really rainy day and you have to spend the whole day in your tent. The most important thing I need to mention here is that whether I think that the tent is stormproof, and the short answer of that is yes, because I was on the Cape to Cape when there was a storm, and I quickly set up my tent, no issues. It was even a little bit saggy, and I still had no issues whatsoever. The only thing that happened was that one of the poles kind of collapsed, but then you just put it back in place, like, it's really easy. Put it back in place, and that's all that happens. But to overcome that, you also can attach the guy lines to the tent, and that's what I didn't do. So I'm very confident that this tent will hold up very well in any kind of storm. Alright, so let's go over the pros of this tent. So I think, first of all, I think it's great value for money. So I paid, I think it was around about 280 Australian dollars or 200 US dollars on the website. That was about a year and a half ago. The price has slightly increased now, but there is a new release, and these tents are in high demand, guys. So make sure that you are getting one. I will put the link in the description below, because these will sell out in like no time if they haven't already sold out. But definitely keep an eye on the website. So it's great value for money. it is lightweight. So as I mentioned before, it's 800 grams. It's the lightest weight you can get for this kind of money. Otherwise you will have to, other tents you would spend like $700-800. Also, I like the fact that it's double walled, so so you don't get the condensation inside as much as with a single wall tent. I did not get any condensation in this tent at all because of the little gap you have underneath the outer fly, but also because it's a double wall tent. Another pro is that you can take it down and set it up separately, inner and outer fly together. What I also like is the attention to detail and functionality. So what I have not mentioned is that there's 2 air gaps as well on either side, but also in terms of functionality, guys, this tent is designed in a way that the trekking poles will not be in the way. However, there are some cons on this tent, and even though it's different for everybody, this is my opinion, okay? The downside of this tent, I find, that is that you need trekking poles to set it up. So at one point I was going on an overnight hike and I didn't really want to take my trekking poles, but I did have to take my trekking poles because of the setup of this tent. So it's a small detail, but just definitely keep that in mind, guys. If you also don't hike with trekking poles, do not buy this tent. And also because you're relying on the trekking poles, that means that it's not a freestanding tent. Okay. The second con, I would say, is the large footprint. It's not really a negative point as such, but I do have to mention it as a con because sometimes it does get in the way. And then last thing I want to mention as a con is also that it is in such a high demand that it's so hard to get, guys. So last time I made this video was probably, I think it was in August 2020. So now there's a new release, and yeah, I'm so excited. Like, finally people will be able to get one again. But again, like, I think that is a con, that is a big con, because if you want to get a tent, you want to be able to get one right now and not in like 6 months. So I do have to mention this. But overall, guys, this is like one of the best tents that I've ever had. I find it so comfortable. I find it so easy to set up. I find it, yeah, it's everything that I wanted in a tent. I also think that because it's designed by a long distance hiker, this is really made for your comfort, okay? So I would highly recommend this tent to anyone. I just want to mention as well, I am not sponsored for this video. This is my own opinion. I love it so much, and I would never recommend gear to you guys if I wasn't standing behind it myself. So yeah, I hope you like this video, and if you do, please give it a like, and also consider subscribing. I've got much more content coming. I'm gonna do a few reviews of my gear, and so yeah, I hope you really like this review. I hope I haven't forgotten anything. If I have, please tell me, and yeah, I'll try and put it in the comments below. But yeah, any questions also, guys, leave it in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!